Right, students, let's continue with our part 2 of chapter 1. Okay, we stopped at slide 14, I think. So today we start off with 14 and continue to 15. So no one is above the law. The law is here and we are here. Us meaning we. Yeah? Okay, so the law is always above us. Okay, next. Law, the state and constitution. Law in Malaysia, which consists of Peninsular Malaysia, Sabah and Sarawak, is one political unit, but it is not governed by the same set of laws. So what it means is Malaysia, Sabah and Sarawak is one. Alright, okay, one political unit. But we have different laws for Sabah and Sarawak. Okay, alright. Attempts are made to achieve uniformity in the law throughout Malaysia, but it is not possible in all areas of law. So there has been, they've tried to find to make it the same, but it is a bit difficult. So Sarawak has got ordinance and all that. We don't have ordinance anymore, right? We still have enactment. All this is left behind by the British to Malaya. Okay, now two links uniting the two parts of Malaysia, Parliament and Federal Court. This you must know. Excuse me, this you must know. Two things unite Malaysia, Sabah and Sarawak, meaning in Malaysia we have the Parliament and the Federal Court. Sabah and Sarawak also has the Parliament and Federal Court, which is the same as the Malaysian one. Okay, we share the same. That part is still the same lah. Okay, what is a state? Legal systems are administered almost entirely on the basis of political unit known as state. So for MPU subject, this is something different from BB 103. For those of you who have done BB 103, this is different. Now, legal system, meaning the court and stuff, all right, they are entirely based on the basis of one unit known as the state. Right, okay, so when you say state, it means Sabah and Sarawak and Malaysia. Right, for international purpose, Malaysia is one state. So for international purpose, if you in United Nations, if somebody says Malaysia, it means West Malaysia, Sabah, Sarawak together lah. Within Malaysia, however, there are 13 states. In Malaysia, we have 13 states. For foreign students, what are the 13 states? They are, what do you call that? Johor, Selangor, alright, Penang, okay, Melaka, Kedah, Pahang. So we have 13. Each state has a government and has rules which lay down who shall govern and how. So each state government, each state, say like for state of Selangor, alright, we have our own government, Selangor government. Alright, this one is a bit like the United States. Okay, and then we also have, there is also what do you call, like Penang Island, it's got Penang government. Okay, so each state has got its own government. They make their own law. It's called small law, bylaw. Right, okay. Now Malaysia has a written constitution. This one is important. Federal constitution, it's called. It is the supreme law of the federation. All right, federal constitution means the biggest constitution. Okay, right, and it's the highest law in Malaysia. Here you are, federal constitution. Okay, you can buy this book. Now this is 2017, but 2021 version, 2020 version may be different color. Okay, next. So what is a state? So definition of a state, right down. This is definition of a state. Article 4.1 of the Federal Constitution states that, okay, supreme law of the Federation, meaning of supreme law of the Federation. For sub 1, the Constitution is the supreme law. Federal Constitution is the supreme law. Supreme law meaning the highest law, right, of the Federation, and any law passed after Independence Day which is inconsistent with Constitution shall, to the extent of the inconsistency, be void. Okay, right. So what it means is that we already have a constitution, federal constitution. So if there is new law which is passed, all right, okay, which clash, inconsistent means clashes with the federal constitution, the new law will be void. Void means will be killed. Okay, in human being term will be killed. In law term it's void. Next, laws enacted by Parliament which are inconsistent with federal constitution may be declared void by the courts. So there you are. Now, Parliament makes law, remember? And I hope you have read a bit by now with the holiday and all that. I hope you have Googled a bit and found out what is Parliament. Alright, so if Parliament make a law and that law clash with federal constitution, the court can declare the Parliament law to be killed. Right? Okay. So the case here is Aretana versus Government of Malaysia and another. Also, there's another case, Repco Holdings Berhad versus Public Prosecutor. Right, let's take a look and see in Aretana, also in Dana Harta, Urus dan Berhad. These two cases, okay, Aretana versus the Government of Malaysia and another. The next case is Dana Harta Urus dan Berhad versus Kakatuk Sendirian Berhad. Okay, so in these two cases, the court said both the plaintiffs sought declaration that an act of parliament was void because of an alleged inconsistency with the federal constitution. So in these two cases, listen very carefully, in these two cases, the court, right, cancelled the act of parliament, the law which was passed by the parliament. Why? Because it clashed with the federal constitution. Okay, all right, so these are the two cases. This is what the court said. So what the court said is the law. Right? Okay, next. There you have another case, Borhan bin Haji Daud. Alright, and others versus Abdul Malik bin Hussein. Now, as an ISA, as the ISA is a special law made under Article 149 of the Constitution, the arrest and detention of the respondent was lawful. Okay, now let's go back. What is ISA? ISA stands for internal INTERNAL, Internal Securities Act. Okay. Excuse me. So in this case, what the court said was, there was a law made by the government, parliament. It's called ISA. Now, ISA can also be found under Section 149 of the Constitution. Alright. Now, Article 149 provides that laws such as the ISA are valid, notwithstanding the inconsistency with Articles 5, 9, 10, and 13 of the Constitution. Okay, so what the court said is that this law passed by ISA, passed by the parliament called ISA, okay, it is alive and it doesn't clash with any law in the federal constitution. Okay, because Article 149 says that ISA is valid. Alright, even though it clashes with Federal Constitution, Article 5, 9, 10, 13, it is still valid. So Burhan is the case that says that. Okay, now if read up a bit, I'm sure by now you already purchased a book online or something, right? Okay, so read up. Now if you have questions, you can ask me before the tutorial starts. Alright, okay. Next case, Kam Teck Soon versus Timbalan Menteri Dalam Negeri Malaysia and others and other appeals. Now in this case, the court said, in conflict, this case is in conflict with another case, Muhammad Izam, alright, which held that ISA was still subject to rights under Article 5.3 and 149 of the Constitution and could not be used to remove such rights. So earlier in Burhan's case, okay, the court said can use ISA. ISA is still powerful, although it clashes with Article 5, 9, 10, and 13. Okay. However, in Kam Teck Soon, the court said ISA was still subject to the rights under 5.3 and 149 of the Constitution and could not be used to remove such rights. Okay, so it is actually the same as what Burhan is saying. Okay, same as what is Burhan is saying, meaning, right, the rights under ISA is too powerful. Now, these cases are cases where ISA was used. Now, 2 years ago, I think, okay, ISA was abolished. So we don't have ISA anymore. Okay, all right. Internal Securities Act. It has already been abolished by the government, which happened recently. Okay, after this slide was made. But we still study about this. All right. Okay, next. Continue. The Federal Constitution confers legislative power to the Federal Parliament and state legislatures. So, Federal Constitution is the Constitution, highest form of law, supreme law. Now, in this Federal Constitution, you can find that the Federal Constitution allows the Parliament to make law. Write down, legislative power is Parliament. Parliament legislates. Okay, so Parliament makes law. Alright, and you remember I told you every state in Malaysia, for example, like Sabah, Sarawak, Selangor, Penang, Johor, they have their own government, right? Yes, and that own government makes own law. It's called state legislature for the state only, right? Okay, so even that comes under Federal Constitution. So what it means is Federal Constitution says yes, Parliament, you can make law. State, you can also make law for yourself. Parliament makes law for the whole of Malaysia, including Sabah and Sarawak. Okay. Okay, now let's see Article 73. When you see article, it is coming from Federal Constitution. Okay, when you see article, it's coming from Federal Constitution. Right, let's see Article 73. What does it say? Extent of federal and state law. Okay. Now, in exercising the legislative powers conferred on it by this Constitution, Parliament can make law for the whole or any part of the Federation. It's very strong, Parliament. And laws having effect outside as well as within the Federation. So, Parliament can make law for Sabah, Sarawak and also Malaysia. The legislature of a state government, may make law for the whole or any part of the state. So the state government can also make law for the whole state or just any part of the state. That depends on them. Right? Next. Okay. Parliament may make laws for the whole of Malaysia. And we know Article 74 says that Parliament may make laws with respect to any of the matters under federal list or concurrent list. So Parliament can make law for all this. There's a lot, 1, 3, 2, I think 10 or 11. So Parliament can make law for things or area under federal list or concurrent list. So Parliament can make laws under federal list or concurrent list. So what is the federal list? Now you have 20 bits, right? Okay, 20 areas. Let's take a look at federal list. So Parliament can make law for external affairs, national defense, internal security. What else? Civil and criminal law, federal citizenship, machinery of government, finance, trade, commerce, shipping, navigation, fisheries, communication and transport, federal works and power, surveys, inquiries, research, okay, education, medicine, labor, welfare, professional occupation, holidays, unincorporated societies, control of agricultural pests, newspapers, censorship, theatres, federal housing, co-op, prevention and extinguishment. So many things Parliament can, all these areas Parliament can make law. Alright? And who says so? This case says so. Tan Sri Abu Khalid Ibrahim versus Bank Islam. Alright, that Parliament can make law for all these areas. Okay, alright. Next. Parliament can also make law for concurrent list. So what is a concurrent list? Social welfare, social services, protection of women, children and young persons, scholarship. Your scholarship, PTPTN. For Malaysian students who are taking this scholarship, it is actually written, it is actually in the Parliament passed the laws for the scholarship to be set. Yes. And protection of wild animal husbandry, town and country planning, vagrancy, hawkers, all these Parliament can make law. Some more got public health, drainage, rehab, fire safety. Matters enumerated in concurrent list may also be the subject matter of laws made by the state legislature. Okay, so some areas under the concurrent list, state government also can do. State government also can make law. Okay, the state legislature may also make laws with respect to any of the matters in state list. So state government can do state list and concurrent list. Alright, federal government can do federal list and concurrent list. Alright, next. Okay, state list, let's see. That means a state government can make what type of law? Islamic law, Kelantan. For foreign student, Malaysia has got a state called Kelantan and Terengganu, I think. So law in that country or law in that state is mostly Islamic. Okay, so the state can make their own law, Islamic law. Okay, then for land matters, agriculture, local government, local services, state workers, state works and water, machinery of state government, state holidays, offences, inquiries, indemnity, turtles, fishing. State can make their own law. Alright, so which case states that Muhammad bin Daud and others versus Government of Malaysia. Ketua Pengarah Jabatan Sekitar and another versus Kajing Tubek. So these are the two cases, got two cases here. Muhammad is one case. Ketua Pengarah Jabatan is another case. Okay. If any state law, now this is important, the one in red. I give you 2 minutes to read it and see what does it mean. Try to read and see. Very important, this one. Pen? Okay. If any state law is inconsistent with federal law, if any state law is inconsistent with federal law, the federal law shall prevail. This must know. Okay, so what it means is that if you have a state law, right, and the state law is clashing, inconsistent means clashing with federal law, right? Federal law is law made by the parliament. Then the parliament law will win. Article 75. Okay, right. Must know this, must know. Right, next. If any state law is inconsistent with federal law, the federal law shall prevail, and the state law shall, to the extent of inconsistency, be void. So, right, the federal law will win, and the state law, which is clashing, will be killed, void, be void. Okay, then this next one is also important. Okay, state legislatures have the power to make laws with respect to any matter not enumerated in any of the lists set out in the 9th schedule, and which are not a matter in respect of which Parliament has power to make. So, state government, legislature, can make laws with respect to any matter. So they can make, state can make law for anything and everything. Okay, so long as it doesn't clash with Parliament law. Right, okay. Next. Now, this is for foreign students, and for some Malaysians also. Malaysian students also don't all know everything. So, this is Malaysia. Malaysia is actually, when you say state of Malaysia, for international purpose, all of this lah. Okay, but if you say Malaysia, Peninsula Malaysia is this, Sabah and Sarawak. It's also part of Malaysia, but they have different law, slightly different law. Okay, next. Now, as I mentioned before, the question you have to be very careful. If the question is asking you about classification of law, then this is the topic. Okay, all right. Classification of law in Malaysia, there are three. So that won't come later. So let's see, major legal system in the world, right? Major legal system in the world. We have, today we have civil law. There are countries who are called civil law countries. Okay, they follow civil law. Common law countries. Malaysia is common law country. UK is common law country. Okay, because we have common law. We follow common law. Alright, so Sino-Soviet. Sino is China. China, Soviet. Right, so China and Soviet law. Okay, Islamic law. There are some countries who follow Islamic law. So Islamic law, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia. Yeah. There are countries who follow Hindu law, Hinduism. India. Where else? Okay, it's not at the top of my head. Talmudic, I think is Jew, right? Jew. Okay, classification of law, continue next. Okay, in general, legal system of the world are classified into three main types, as I told you. One is civil law, one is common law, socialist law. Okay, now three types, it's classified into three types. So there are a lot of countries who follow common law. Those countries who formerly British follow British occupancy, yeah? All those countries are following common law like Malaysia, Singapore, Sri Lanka, India. Okay, India is following Hinduism also. Alright, the countries who follow civil law only. Right, I think it's the Islamic country, if I'm not mistaken. Right, socialist law. Socialist is social. The country is running on social law. Alright, okay. So they follow socialist law. So this one you can Google. This is not that important. Okay, Malaysian legal system is common law system. In Malaysia, law has been classified. This is what you need to know. In Malaysia, law has been classified into three broad divisions. This is where your question will be. Okay, all right. Public law, international law, private law. Okay, public law, international law, private law. All right. Next. Okay, let's take a look at public law. What is public law? Now, definition for public law is law which governs the relationship between individuals and the state. Between you and me, and our relationship with the state. State meaning the government. Yeah. Okay. Now, this public law is divided into two: constitutional law and criminal law. There's only two. Must remember, constitutional law, criminal law. Constitutional law lays down the rights of individuals in the state. Criminal law codifies the various offences committed by individuals against the state. This is the definition of constitutional law. Alright, it tells you what you can do and what you cannot do. It's in a book, alright? Okay. Criminal law codifies the offences committed by individuals against the state. Okay, so committed by individuals against the state. So this criminal law is, say if I killed someone, the government will sue me. The government will take me to court. Right? Okay. Same like George Floyd case. It's the government who was suing the policeman who murdered George Floyd. Okay. So this is two. Okay. Here got a lot of cases. Ng Kim Moy and others versus Pentadbir Tanah Daerah. Seremban Negeri Sembilan. Darul Khusus. So this is one case. Then the next case, S. Kulasingham versus Commissioner of Lands. This is another case. Government of Malaysia versus Langkawi Pilot Association. Ong Achuan versus Public Prosecutor. So you have time now, right? You can Google and read up on these cases, or you already have a textbook. Please, you can go and do some research. Okay, so this is cases concerning public law. Alright, public law. Next. Now we move to international law, the second type. Body of law which is composed for its greater part of the principles and rules of conduct which states feel themselves bound to observe and consequently commonly do observe in their relation with each other. Okay, so international law is law where we, Malaysia, have to follow. All right, okay. Now I'm going to give you some things. Please write down. All right. Now, the international law that Malaysia follows is the law of United Nations. United Nations. U-N-I-T-E-D. Next word is nations. N-A-T-I-O-N-S. United Nations. Okay. So, I specialize in international law for my master's. Okay. So now, almost all the country in the world, right, is under United Nations today. Almost all the countries in the world are under United Nations because they signed this thing with United Nations to be part of United Nations. What is the use of United Nations? United Nations is a body where all the countries, when they come together, they are stronger, right? They work together for environment purpose, war, right? Today we have a problem in Israel and Palestine in Gaza. Okay, if you're following the news. So the United Nations is going to sit down, United Nations Security Council is going to sit down and make a decision. What is going to happen there? All right, bombing, killing. All right, two factions. Excuse me. And then, so United Nations is where all the countries come together to sort their problems out. Yeah, like I mentioned, environment, health. Now health. Today we have a big crisis, a health crisis in the world. Okay, all right. So United Nations is on top of it. All right, they are now doing what they can. All right. So there you are. So this is international law. Now, Malaysia has signed to be part of international law, to be part of United Nations a long time ago. So since we signed it, whatever United Nations is saying, we must follow. Yeah, we must follow. Right, okay. So I think right now almost all country in the world is part of United Nations. All right, we believe if we get together, we can become stronger. In case we are attacked by, here's a joke, don't go write in your answer script. Okay, here's a joke. In case we're attacked by the aliens, okay, all right, just joking. Okay, now let's continue. Clear my throat first. Now, this international law is subdivided into two categories: public international law and private international law. Okay, so private international law is also known as conflict of laws. Conflict of laws. So private international law is a part of municipal law, rules that guide a judge when the laws of more than one country affect a case. Okay, so private international law is where, right, two countries has a problem. All right, say people from two countries have a problem. This private international law, all right, is for private citizens in two different countries. Private citizen in two different countries. Okay, so it's called private international law. Public international law is problem that two countries have. Earlier, public international law. So public international law is where, for example, Malaysia and Singapore. You please write down all this. Okay. Now, Malaysia and Singapore, we had a problem. What we call it? Pulau Batu Putih case. We had a big problem. So it was between Malaysia and Singapore. So we took it to international court. Okay, that one also run by United Nations. So international court heard the case. So that is public international law. right? Private international law is between two people from two countries lah. Okay, so two means source. Source means where can you get the law from international law. Two sources of international law that affect business is customary rules of international law, customary rules of international law, treaties and convention. Treaties and convention. These are places where we can get the law from, because in United Nations, all the countries sign a lot of treaty and they sign a lot of convention as well. So that's where you get your law from. That is their law. Okay, right. Okay, matters that affect the rights and duties of individuals among themselves. So now we've come to private law. Okay, so let me take you back. Initially, we studied what is public law, okay, right? And then we studied international law. International law is divided into two: private international law and public international law. Okay, right? That we have done. Now it's private law. All right. This is the third type of law that Malaysia has under classification of law. Okay. Matters that affect the rights and duties of individuals amongst themselves. So private law is where I want to sue you because we're individuals amongst ourselves, right? I want to sue you, and therefore it comes in the private law. Say you and I signed a contract and something went wrong. Okay, so I want my money back, so I will sue you like that. Okay, intended to give compensation to persons injured, to enable property to be recovered from wrongdoers, and to enforce obligation. Obligation is contract. So private law consists of law of contract, law of tort, and law of trust. Okay, so law of contract is if you sign a contract and it doesn't work properly, okay, you go to the court and you sue the other person. It comes under private law. Law of tort is also kind of law, all right, and if something goes wrong, all right, you can go to court and sue the other person. It will come under private law. Trust also a law of trust. Law of trust is where people make will. Will is okay. I have made my own will, all right, and it comes under law of trust, will, meaning if I die, I will give my house to my son and my car to my whom. That is called a will. Alright, so all these three are private law because it's between two people, right? So it's private law. Okay, next. Law of contract, there you are. You have all this here. Based on agreement, essential elements in a contract, offer, acceptance, all this. These are all elements of the law of contract. Tort, based on an obligation imposed by law. Tort is a civil wrong. Alright, it's a problem between two people. Alright, the breach of a general duty which is imposed by the law. The law says there is a duty, right, for everybody to follow. Everybody has got a duty to follow. If you didn't follow the duty, you make a mistake, somebody is hurt, then you can be sued. Remedial can be remedied by a civil action. That means you can take it to court. It comes under private law. It's a civil action, not criminal. Okay, so let me give you an example. Now, say your house is next to a petrol station. Next to petrol station, of course, got partition wall and all that. Next to a petrol station. Now, the petrol station always, excuse me, let me clear my throat. Okay, the petrol station has got, sometimes the big truck will come to top up the fuel, correct? Okay, underground, the fuel is kept underground. Okay, now story. Say something goes wrong with the road and the road cracks and the container underneath where they keep the fuel cracks and the fuel come out. The fume meaning the smoke of the fuel, all right, comes out. And what happens? Your house is next to this. There's a row of houses there, and everybody in that row of house, everybody in the house suffered some lung burn, their lungs burn and things like that, because they smell all these things, right? Okay, so you can sue the petrol station because they are doing this business. They have a duty, obligation imposed by law. What? To make sure everything is in good condition and accidents like this do not happen. To make sure accidents do not happen. Yeah? So you can sue them under law of thought. Law of thought. Okay? This is what it is. Very interesting. Okay, next. Any person whose legal right is infringed may sue the wrongdoer. Continue for thought. Essential elements of a thought. So these are the essential elements. Meaning this must be there. If you want to sue in thought, there must be an act or omission done intentionally or negligently. So the petrol station example, they must have done it intentionally or they never negligent. Negligent is when people make a mistake. Maybe it was maybe the accident was a mistake. All right, they didn't know there were cracks and all that. Next, there must be damage caused by such an act or omission, meaning the smell, the gas that came out, did it damage you? That row of houses you're staying next door, did it affect you or not? So you must go to the hospital and take an x-ray and everything to show that it affected you. Only then the court will say, okay, there is a case. Otherwise, no, must show, right? Trust, law of trust, an equitable obligation binding a person to deal with property over which he has control, right, for the benefit of another. So trust, law of trust is a trustee to deal with the property over which has control. So I am a trustee, all right, okay, I have my house, trust property, I want to give it to my son. My son is the beneficiary, okay, of whom he may himself be one. I could also be a beneficiary, okay, and any one of beneficiaries may enforce the obligation. This is law of trust. You make a will, right? Okay, so that is also private law, between two people, isn't it? Then the government is not involved. Okay, next. So this is a review, explanation. What we did was explanation, definition of law. We have done law in relation to justice. We've done law and ethics, rule of law. All right, okay, so all these things. There you are, classification of law, public law, international law, private law. International law is divided into two: public international law and private international law. Okay, all right, so we more or less have finished this chapter. Now what you need to do is you need to finish up, okay, prepare your question for your tutorial. Okay, so if you can watch this and Monday if we can do the tutorial, very good. Okay, for the students who have a tutorial on Monday. Alright, so otherwise Tuesday, please listen to this and then do your attendance as normal. Alright, thank you very much and have a pleasant weekend.